Hi guys, I know you were probably expecting to see something more interesting today, but I really wanted to get this video off my list due to a number of reasons, and as such, I'll let the spotlight shine on this clock for one last time. For those of you who don't know already, this is my Gustav Becker box clock, which was made in the 1910s. It runs for 8 days on a full winding, and it strikes on the hour and on the half hour on a coiled gong. I've had this clock for a little over 6 years now, and it used to be my favorite clock in my collection during most of that time. That is sadly no longer the case, as you can probably tell. The case does have some damage. It has a few cracks in it. There are a lot of scratches, and it's also missing some pieces. Up there, it should have had 2 decorative squares, just like this one has. And it also used to have a removable crown, as indicated by this slot, which you might be able to see. That has also gone missing. Now, if you're familiar with what Gustav Becker made during that time, you might notice that this doesn't really look like any of the typical stuff that they produced in that period. And that actually made me ask myself the following question in the past. Is this an actual Gustav Becker, or was it made by someone else who simply used the Gustav Becker movement? And after a little bit of digging, I managed to find an answer to this question. And that answer is no, it is not an actual Gustav Becker. It wasn't sold under their own name. It was actually made by Girod, who used Gustav Becker movements in their clocks. Some of their clocks. And that is easily identifiable by looking at the gong block, which says GW on it, which stands for Girod. I'll get a better shot of that in a sec. There it is. That is the gong block showing the letters GW. Now that I opened the clock up, you might notice that tiny piece of string in there, which if pulled advances the striking by 1/2 hour, as this clock has count-wheel striking. And also down here is the key that came with it. Okay, now give me a sec to take the dial off, and then I'll let you take a look at the movement. And one real life day later, here is the movement inside my Gustav Becker box clock. A pretty standard movement which Gustav Becker used during their last 20 years of production or so. That is the big count wheel. This movement also has a rack striking variant, which I do own. It's one of my parts movements. And it has a recoil escapement. I'll trigger the striking for ya. And here's the back of it. It does have a few markings. P42 is the pendulum length in centimeters, measured from the end of the suspension spring down to the end of the actual pendulum. And behind the crutch is the Gustav Becker logo. Gustav Becker Silesia. Silesia, or Schlesien, is now a region of Poland, from what I know. I have never worked on this movement. The only thing that I ever did to it was clean off the dried oil, which was visible around some of the pivots. It's too close to the hour, or half hour, or whatever it is. Yeah. Here is the inside of the empty case. Yeah, there's not much to see here. And here's the dial. It's in rather bad shape, it's really corroded, and it could do with a touch-up. And here's the movement in the case with the dial off. During normal operation, and there it is back together again. Now, even though it hurts to say this, due to lack of interest and space on the wall, I have decided to part ways with this clock. And that is actually one of the reasons for which I decided to remake this video. That is sadly the case with a couple of other clocks. One of them is already gone, in fact, and I will post a short about that in a bit. But despite everything, this clock will always remain my Gustav Becker in my heart, and I hope that it's going to find a new loving home wherever it goes. It sure will be way better than sitting here and gathering dust. So yeah, that's kind of it for today. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you liked this clock. Thank you guys so much for watching. I was Luca, and we'll meet again some other time. Bye bye for now.